Welcome to the ExecMBA Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to welcome back Ladi Carr. Ladi is a two-time guest here on the podcast, and she is also a director with Darden's Center for Global Initiatives. Ladi and I recently sat down to talk about some of the recent global updates to our Executive MBA program. So if you're interested in all the places you could potentially go with our Executive MBA program, this episode is a must listen. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Ladi Carr. Ladi, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Fred.
All right. So you are a repeat guest here on the podcast. Tell us about you. I know some of our listeners who listened to your earlier episode know a little bit about you, but we may also have some new listeners out there.
So my name is Ladi Carr, and I work at the Darden Business School at the Center for Global Initiatives. My role is exclusively to work with the Executive MBA students on the global experiences at Darden. The global experiences could be the global residencies, it can be the global consulting projects, and sometimes we have a global visitation of our partner schools.
So a lot that you do here. You have the good fortune to travel with our executive format students as they go around the world. What do you enjoy about that time with the students?
What I enjoy is that with each new group, it's a totally new eyes in a country. It is completely new way to see each country. Yes, I've been in many countries many times, but when I come with a new group of students, I see the country through their eyes for the first time, and I enjoy seeing how students are reacting to the country, what they experiences, what questions they have, and often they actually enrich my own experience by being there. Many of them might be already traveling there for the second time. Some of them might be for the first time. And so we all make their experience richer by just being there together.
So we talk about this often, that you have on these trips some very experienced travelers and you have some real novice travelers, perhaps folks who have never been outside the United States or have only been out of the U.S. a little bit. That is, I'm sure, interesting from a management standpoint, right? Because you got to meet all students where they are.
Absolutely. But I see that as a great opportunity. I really do. What I see is that the students who traveled a lot, I have things to learn from them. And the students who never left the United States, we are here to be with them and show them the beauty outside of the United States. What you will find also at our global trips, that often the students who traveled a lot are a great resource to our students who never traveled. And what I love is the supportive nature of our programs. I often actually get students who, let's say, been in Europe or maybe visited Canada, and they will say, you know what, I really would like to go to India, or I will challenge myself to go all the way to Japan. And they wanted to do it for the first time with us because they know the support is there and they will be able to experience the country, enjoy the country with their classmates, and then feel safe and feel very much ready to explore.
So our listeners may be noticing from your accent that you are not from the United States originally. So tell us a little bit more about your story. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Czech Republic. I came to the United States about 25 years ago, but I came here as an adult, so I was told that I cannot lose my accent. Clearly, I gave up on trying. I actually asked at UVA to attend a accent reduction classes, but they would not accept me. They said that my English was understandable enough that they would not accept me for the classes. So if you come to our program, you will hear my accent every time we talk in global. So I hope you will understand me, but feel free to correct me because I do take still a guidance every single time when I speak, when I write. So I appreciate it.
So the question is, when are we going to have the global residency to the Czech Republic?
Oh, it's coming up. It's coming up. I'm very excited. It will not be a purely Czech Republic. It will be in combination with Germany, which I think it's a fantastic combination because you will visit actually the east part of the Germany, Berlin, and then you will visit Prague, which is also part of the Eastern Bloc, and you will see the difference, and you will have the compare and contrast between a country that got absorbed by the sister, West Germany, and now became one big Germany, and how that looks like 25, 30 years ago when the wall fell down. And now you will see Czech Republic, who didn't have that much support from any other big country, and where the economy is going there. So I'm super excited about that combination.
Well, that is a natural segue to what's one of the bigger news items we've had come out of our Executive MBA program for some time. We've had different innovations over the past couple years. So big news last year was both sections will now be based in the Washington, D.C. area, which is going very, very well. It's exciting to have all the students together. So often throughout the program, the energy during those weekend residencies is incredible. 135 or so students, all in Roslyn at Sands Family Grounds. We also changed the start time of those weekend residencies, sort of a smaller change, but I think one that has a lot of benefit for students. We now start on Fridays for our once-a-month weekend residencies. Start on Fridays at noon and wrap up around 3 on Sundays. So that was one of the bigger stories, but nothing quite on the level as the global updates we recently announced. So there was a nice article in the Darden report we've been rolling out. Got a blog post coming out about it on the admissions blog, an email to go in the next week or so. Big news. But I want to let you talk about this.
Yes, I am so excited. This is really one of the biggest news in the Executive MBA program. We always had 4 staple countries that Executive MBA students could visit, and that was Brazil, China, India, and Germany and France in Western Europe. But now we will be offering 12 different countries. We will be on all continents. I could list the countries, shall I?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's an incredible list. And the only caveat, I think it's worth mentioning is, the countries could change for various reasons. But I think the thing that comes through is the breadth of places. And as you note, every continent except Antarctica, I guess.
Well, yes, we're not going there, but every other continent where humans are living year round. Let's qualify that. Yes, and you are correct. Countries can change, and they could even change when you are already at Darden. And the reason is there might be a civil unrest. Right now we have a Chile on our docket to be one of the global residencies, but there is an unrest right now. So we will be a little bit flexible. If things are happening, you will always know ahead of time. But what I love about our current lineup, and I will tell you very quickly, it's Brazil, Chile, China, Israel, India, combination of Finland and Estonia, Ghana, Japan, Czech Republic, Germany combination, Australia, Vietnam, and Cuba. And those countries, if you decide to do the Gamba format, you will have an opportunity to pick and choose how you want to do your global experience here at Darden. When I was actually thinking about what I can tell you about all these different combinations, just few came to my mind. You can visit in each residency. You can visit a country in Asia. So that would be the combination China, India, Japan, Vietnam. Or you can visit countries that are small in population and small in size, which would be Finland, Estonia, Czech Republic, Cuba. Ghana is there as well. You can visit countries that are maybe more focused on entrepreneurship. That would be Germany, that would be Ghana, that would be Brazil. So you can create your own experience, exactly what would work for you, what would work with your schedule, what would work with your interests, what would work with your profession.
So let's get in the nuts and bolts of this. So we talked about 10, 12 global residency locations. And so one of the things that also is part of this is the global residency trips have shifted a little bit later in the schedule. So some of our listeners may have previously heard discussions around domestic and global quarters and may remember this vocabulary. That no longer applies. The global residencies are now offered between quarters, and students are no longer doing a combination of core curriculum and cultural and business experiences abroad. It's all focused on that location. Do you want to talk about that change?
Absolutely. This is another great change, I think, in our global residencies. What will happen is that instead of having half day in a country that would be focused on your core courses and the afternoons visiting businesses and having speakers, now all our time in the country, it's focused on visiting companies, having industry speakers, having speakers from the politics sphere, having speakers from the culture, visiting culture events, and seeing the country as a whole. What I enjoy about it is that we will have much richer experience. We would often hear that our older program, it was limited by just the afternoon really being in the country. Now you will have no other courses, no responsibilities when it comes to curriculum when you are in the country. Also, the start of our travel will not be in the fall, right when you come to school. It will start after quarter 3, which is in late February. So it will give you a time to experience your new life as an Executive MBA student, get everything set, and then you will be traveling for the first time.
That's a great point. So to give you a little bit more detail about the sort of timing of these trips, there's 4 travel periods, one after quarter 3, as Ladi noted, for our class of 2022. It sounds very futuristic to say that, but for our class of 2022, the first travel period will be February 2021. Then 4 months later, after quarter 5, in June of 2021. 4 months later, after quarter 7, it's October 2021. And then the last travel period will be after quarter 9, and that's again February of 2022. And 2022. So those are the travel periods. You have heard the full menu of places that we're going. Bear in mind, though, that typically 2 to 3 trips will be offered in each travel period, and the trips will occur simultaneously. So if you're traveling, say, after quarter 3, you can't go on all 3 trips that are offered there. You can only go on one of them. GEMBA students will obviously travel on one trip in each of the travel periods. MBA format students are required to do one global residency. And global residencies are week-long, but you can add additional global residencies as an MBA format student. I think that's one of the nice benefits of this sort of expanded roster is it now is much easier for MBA format students to have an additional global experience or 2. Thoughts on that, Ladi?
Absolutely. And the other part which you didn't say yet, it's that actually now with the new program, because we have more locations, the groups traveling there will be smaller. So we will be limiting the groups to 30 to 35 students for each location, which proves to us that it's actually much easier to visit the companies and to have a really cohesive group to travel in the country. But because we'll be 3 different countries traveling at the same time, technically it could be up to 90 or over 100 students traveling for each global residency.
Yeah, so in that period, you're right. Across the 3 trips, you could have a total of 105 students, if my math is right, traveling, which is fantastic. And you think about they'll come back together that subsequent quarter and talk about where they've been. I think that's always been part of sort of goal with this is that people go around the world and they come back and they have that shared experience with their classmates. And for the people who didn't travel with them on that trip, they have a chance to learn about that. So if you're thinking about our EMBA format, our Executive MBA format, and you're thinking, gosh, an additional global residency sounds great. I might want to do, I don't know if I can do the full 4 for GEMBA, but I might want to do a second one. That would be for an additional charge of around $4,200. But I think a lot of students think about, gosh, when am I going to be in school like this again? When am I going to have an opportunity to do a trip like this? Ladi, as you noted, these aren't exactly tourist experiences.
They are not a tourist experiences. So if you have a country on your bucket list because you want to visit the beaches and you wanted to visit all the different temples, and then I would say, yes, come with us, but a few days before or a few days after the residency, because those are the things we are not doing during the global residency. What we're trying to do during each global residency to take you to places that would be either very hard or almost impossible for you to visit. Often those are very special locations where we have our corporate partners, where we have our alumni, where we have just a very special access. So those are the places where we will be taking you, where you will not get as a private person.
So I've had the good fortune of doing some prospective student networking dinners over the past few weeks where I get to see current students and alumni, and they ask, well, how are things going with the program? Any updates I should know about? And I've told them about this update, and to a person, they're like, is it too late to re-enroll? Can I come back? Or is this available for the class of 2020? Any way we can participate? I think one of the great things about these updates is that they were all very much inspired by student feedback, which strikes me as, that's what our culture is about here. But to a person, they're like, gosh, that sounds great. Smaller group sounds great. We've traditionally traveled with 60, 65 students, maybe even a little bit more than that on these global residencies. That's 2 buses. That's, occasionally students having to choose between 2 different company visits or 3 different company visits due to size. In addition, I think we heard pretty resoundingly from students that they wanted more global choice. And so here we are.
Here we are, and I think it's very, very exciting change. And if you join us for the class of 2022, I think you will be really amazed how all this is coming together. We have experiences in many of these countries because we already go there with our residential students. So this will not be new to Darden, but it will be just new to the Executive MBA program.
Yeah, so one of the sort of outcomes of these global updates is that the schedule for our executive formats, our EMBA format and GEMBA format, perhaps more similar than they ever have been. So now all students have the same number of weekend residencies. So both, all formats students. This is an interesting thing about our program. I think we get this question on the phone a lot from prospective students. Are EMBA and GEMBA students separate? What are they in class together? And the answer is they are absolutely in class together. So if you come for a weekend residency, unless you ask somebody, are you an EMBA or GEMBA format student, you wouldn't know. And that's going to be even more the case because, again, everybody comes to Charlottesville at the beginning and end of the program for the week-long leadership residencies, LR1, LR2. There's 20 weekend residencies, again, on this once-a-month cadence. All EMBA and GEMBA format students do that as well. Distance learning, a couple nights a week between 7 and 8:30 typically. And then the difference is really just the number of global residencies. So we noted earlier, EMBA format students required to do 1, some flexibility to do a second or third global residency if you would like. And then, of course, GEMBA format students, they do 4 global residencies. So that's really the difference. So it's time schedule is really kind of the difference. Days out of the office a little bit different, and how much global experience you want. You talk to a lot of people who are thinking about GEMBA.
Yes.
What's your pitch?
My pitch is that usually you go for the first one, and then you say, I want to do more. And if any of you have a chance to talk to our current students, class of 18, 19, 20, 21, just ask them about the global residency. And I bet you that all you will hear is like, do GEMBA. Because after you experience one, you will be ready to do more. And I know that often it sounds, I cannot put anything more on my plate when I'm starting as a student. But when you start, then you will just see that the time, it's kind of stretchy. And then you are able to actually fit more than you think.
That's very true. We have a record number of GEMBA format students in our class of 2021. We've traditionally had somewhere between 25 to, say, 30 GEMBA format students. This most recent class, we ended up with 41. I think a lot of that was the result of EMBA format students saying, hey, you really should think about this. If you want to do more than one global experience, really think hard about GEMBA. I wish I would have been a GEMBA student, and I think we know that from past experience. Once people do one global residency, and I think that's going to absolutely be the case. I mean, just listen to the lineup of countries. So, I get asked the question a lot as to why students choose one or the other. And I think sometimes students land on EMBA just out of schedule and time, looking to minimize class days away from work and home and say, look, both the formats are global. I'm going to have a global experience. So, ultimately, though, schedule and time, I want to minimize my time away. So EMBA makes sense. GEMBA students have that sort of maximum sort of orientation, last educational experience, likely for the major educational experience. Why not do as much as you can, see as much as you can? And so when are you going to have an opportunity to do something like this again? And those are the things that we oftentimes hear. But to Ladi's point, EMBA students oftentimes later on are like, oh yeah,
I wish.
yeah. And so, so let's talk about the role that these global experiences play in the Executive MBA program. Because, I think one of the things that students oftentimes wonder is like, do all of our students, work for international companies or, we have a required global experience for all executive format students. Not all executive MBA programs have a required global experience. How do you think about this?
Oh, I think it's absolutely crucial that everybody have a global experience. And the reason for that is that even if you work, let's say, for a small company or you are running your own business, before you know it, you are affected by anything that is happening in the global markets. And just going there, it gives you the opportunity to experience it. Also, living in the United States, if you are coming from United States, you meet people from all around the world. They might be your employees. Actually going to a country where your employees might be coming from and experiences the different culture norms, it will just give you much more appreciation of why people do things certain way. I always find when we travel on the global residencies and we visit companies, a different style of leadership, different style of hierarchy, different style of dealing with a team, dealing with human resources, different style of treating the environment, different opportunities of how you work with multiple language groups. All of that just comes to such a clear picture. I'm an American as well. I believe that we are living in a country where pretty much everybody speaks English. English is very international language, but then go to a country where people may not understand you and you will have to communicate through simultaneous translation and just experience that. I think it's completely invaluable.
So you and I get to take a trip together.
Yes,
we are getting ready to go to Brazil. I'm excited. This is the first time I've ever been to Brazil. I've been sort of asking my colleagues who traveled there, what's it like, and talked with some of our students who went on the trip or will be going on the trip. They're all very excited. I'm excited to be up close and personal with the global residency. What do you enjoy about the Brazil global residency?
Brazil Global Residency, it's fantastic. We have been going there for a while. We have a great company visits lined up. What I enjoy is that it is the largest economy in Latin America. That country, it's actually bordering every single country on the continent except of one. What I enjoy is being there. First, Spanish will not help you. and it's Portuguese only. Currency is very fluctuating. So one day you can go and you buy your can of Coke, and next day the price will be different. Just experience that. The companies that we're going to see, some of them are purely Brazilian, like Cubo Itaú or Braskem, or Natura, who recently acquired a body shop, which actually everybody was thinking it will be the other way around, but this pure Brazilian company acquired a large international company. We're going to see Embraer, which is a airplane maker for a small size airplanes, and seeing that production, it's amazing. The other thing that we do there, which it's always really interesting, we're going to see a local Sao Paulo soccer club. And sometimes students were saying like, oh, what that has to do with business? It's a soccer. Well, soccer, it's a business in Brazil. And a lot of things are going around because of soccer. We're going to see Corinthians, if anybody is fan there. What it's interesting about it, we will be actually talking with the marketing team and the team that is involved with recruiting of very young players, developing them, and then selling them to a European soccer leagues. So it's not just walking around the stadium, it's more seeing the business of the soccer club. And then when you go to Rio de Janeiro, it's just beautiful. There is a lot of things going on. And when you compare Sao Paulo, which is very much business-like, and then you go to Rio de Janeiro, it is like visiting New York City and visiting Los Angeles. I love when we go there and students start making these connections. They start seeing how things work. What is also interesting, what we experience in Brazil, you cannot just send an email and hope for the best. No, you have to meet the person in person. You have to have a couple dinners, just talking about kids and hobbies. And after that, you can set up the third dinner and then start talking business. So those are the things that you just need to experience to be there to start understanding.
Yeah, I'm excited about the trip. I also get to do a little bit of admissions travel on it. So we're going to have a prospective student event while we're there on the 5th of November. And then I get to go to Santiago, Chile, a place that's been in the news recently. I've never been there before. So a lot of first times for me. So I'll get to relate a little bit to those students who are traveling through South America for the first time. I've been to Canada, I've been to Sweden, but nothing quite as exciting as Sao Paulo and Rio.
Yeah, I am very excited to have you on the trip.
Yeah, so we'll be taking the podcast on the road. My hope is to interview some of our students while we're there to try to get the full immersive global residency experience. So this will be a first for the podcast. So we'll see if we can achieve this. So Ladi, one last question here. What's your why Darden pitch? I know you interact a lot with students, as they're choosing their format or sort of thinking through things. When they ask you, why should I come here? What do you tell them?
What I will say is Darden will give you the most global experience you can get for Executive MBA students. And it also gives you the high touch because we are with you all the way. We are here to support you, to guide you, and to have the absolutely best experience that you can have getting your MBA.
That's such a great point. And I think about the global updates that we've been talking about here. So you think about where we've come from as a program. So we previously had a global executive MBA format that had 6 2-week residencies. We had an executive MBA format that had only one global trip, and everybody went to the same place in China. A few years ago, we integrated the formats to give executive MBA format students more global choice and global executive MBA format students electives and a broader network. We did that for a little while and then started to listen to student feedback and look at opportunities for even more global experiences. And so that progression from 2 formats to 2 very integrated formats to 4 global residencies to now a menu that includes as many as 10 to 12 trips. I think the big takeaway here is that this is a program committed to continuous improvement, where students very much have a ownership stake and a voice, at the table. What should be done? What do you like? What can we do better?
Absolutely. And what I like about it, that we hear our current students, we make the improvements. It doesn't take us 5-10 years to do that. We are very quick. And this global change, it's absolutely fantastic. Our students were telling us, we love the global residencies. Can we have more global experiences? So we said yes.
That's right. So a little additional reading for those of you who want to look at something after listening to this podcast. Check out the news story that came out in the Darden Report, which is the news site for the Darden School. A lot of good detail there. We also have a blog post on the admissions blog that should be up by the time this thing airs. So check that out. I also did a recent webinar that'll be linked in that blog post, just providing an overview of the schedule and structure of our Executive MBA program. So with some of this language, leadership residency, weekend residency, distance learning, global residency is new to you, I encourage you to check that out just to learn a little bit more about how all the pieces fit together over the 21 months of our program.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions, you can always find me at ladi@virginia.edu. It's the easiest email, I think, at the university. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about our global offerings.
So hopefully what you're putting together is Ladi is like Madonna or Prince or any of these people that Ladi goes by one name. So Ladi, thank you for taking some time out of your morning here to talk more about what's really, I think, truly an incredible story for our executive format students.
Thank you, Brett. I'm glad to be here.
And that was my conversation with Ladi Carr, a director with Darden's Center for Global Initiatives. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's EXEC, MBA at darden.virginia.edu. And until next time, thanks for listening.